It's Friday night, Bills fans. How we doing? Welcome to another episode of the Triple Coverage Podcast. To my left, Scott Casson. To my right, Benjamin Shoup. I am Lance Nelson, the president of Built in Buffalo. We appreciate all y'all joining us here. We are sponsored by Monster Energy and Buffalo Belia Sports and More. Go check out Buffalo Belia's Facebook page for really cool custom Bills helmets, such as this one over my shoulder here. A lot of cool custom things going on over there. And Monster Energy, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo. What's up, Shoot?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Christmas is right around the corner. It's that busy time of the year. Hopefully the Bills can give a good win this weekend just to, have everybody be going to Christmas just hopefully enjoying a Bills win. But, we all know we won't be enjoying many Sabres wins before Christmas. But, at least the Bills have been winning, and great win last week. And hopefully they can keep it going against New England.
Yeah, Scott, what's going on, dude?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Excited to be here. Happy to, talk about the Bills on a Friday night. Crazy game last Sunday, which, we'll talk about a little bit. Awesome to see the offense, put up so many points. Josh Allen, another offensive player of the week. Let's hope that continues to ride on into this week.
Yeah, right on. And, a little sickness in the household this week. So if I crack up or have to mute myself for a little coughing fit, I apologize in advance. But like you mentioned, Josh Allen, another offensive player of the week last year. What do we think? Is the MVP Josh's to lose? Let's go through quick thoughts. Start with you, Scott.
I think so. I know people are saying Lamar Jackson's in the race, and now all of a sudden want to say that stats matter when it comes to the MVP. But if you go just based on what you're seeing on the field and what you're seeing with your eyes, what Josh Allen is doing, a lot of it's quite literally never been done before. So, I think the MVP is his to lose, barring anything crazy, which I don't foresee happening given the schedule we have down the stretch. So, I think it's Josh Allen's to lose.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's his to lose right now. However, as we know, there's still some weeks left. Things could change. I don't see them really changing, though, just based off of the opponents, especially between those two guys. Lamar this week plays Pittsburgh on Saturday, and he's not historically known to do great against Pittsburgh. So this week could be the week that it ends up becoming that, okay, Josh Allen, this was the week that he officially is kind of locking it in. But I still think it's going to be hard for him to lose unless he throws multiple interceptions the next 3 games and the Bills struggle the next 3 games and Baltimore plays great the next 3. I really don't see it happening. But either way, if he does somehow end up losing it, that'll be a shock to, I think, many. But I think right now it's his to lose for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's any player that can take a team, by the shoulders or by the heels or however you want to say it and propel them forward like Josh Allen has for Buffalo. It's supposed to be a rebuild year, and it's been nothing short of spectacular and high-level play. So I expect him to get at least one more Player of the Week honor in his next 3 games, if not more than one. And that MVP trophy will be coming to Buffalo, in my opinion. Thought this was an interesting topic that Scott brought up here, and we're going to go through our quick thoughts on this. Are the Bills the team to beat in the NFL right now?
For me, I have a tough time saying 100% yes, just because, again, Detroit, yes, they were banged up. I know the Bills still were also a little bit banged up, but the Detroit's been very banged up. We'll see what happens when they're fully healthy. They're still a very good football team. The Eagles have been rolling. I believe
they lost Montgomery for the whole season, so they're not really going to necessarily be able to get fully healthy in some respects.
Well, now they're saying he might be able to come back if they make
in
it
the
far.
Playoffs. Okay.
Either way,
he's done for my fantasy team, so that's all I care. I'm done with him.
Their number one was definitely the defense was more banged up than the offense has been. I think Gibbs can still step in and take on that extra workload and be fine. But, the Eagles, I believe they've won, 10 in a row. So they've been looking great. So there's some other teams out there that still, I think, the Chiefs still technically have one loss, right? There's still that team that you look at and the Bills beat them. But there's still a team that for some reason can't lose. But I think right now they're the team that looks like, they beat the 2-1 seeds in each conference. But at the end of the day, it's the NFL. Any week you can have anybody come in. And I feel like the team to beat whole conversation is kind of a tough one just because there's so many teams that are so close there. So I would say, I guess if I had to say yes or no, I would say yes for right now, but it's not something where I'm looking at and I'm like, yes, they're 100% the team to beat. They look like the best team in the NFL by a mile, because we still have some worries about the defense there. But I mean, when the offense is rolling like this, it's hard to say that they're a team that isn't at least in the conversation for the team to beat.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of use the same argument I used for Josh Allen being the MVP. Like, if you watch the games, yeah, I think the Bills are definitely the team to beat. Like, if the way the Bills offense is playing right now, I don't think anybody wants to see that in the playoffs. The way Josh Allen is playing right now, I don't think anybody wants to see him in the playoffs. And you mentioned the Eagles, you mentioned the Lions, both very good teams. The Eagles are also rolling right now. Wouldn't necessarily have to see them until I wouldn't necessarily. We definitely wouldn't have to see them until the Super Bowl, at least as far as the AFC goes. I think they're absolutely the team to be. And then, yeah, probably either them or the Eagles at the moment right now. But I like the Bills, so I'm going to go with the Bills.
Yeah, until we can defeat the Chiefs in the playoffs, unfortunately, I have to take that route. Just, we got to beat them. We got to see them. Got to see them get beat first before I can really say that the Bills are the team to beat. But I want to. I think if I look at it on paper and with the eye test of who looks the best, the Bills are definitely there. But just from the sheer matter of it hasn't happened yet, and we all want it to happen, and just kind of apprehensive of saying that the Bills are definitely there. But they are going to be fighting for a 1 seed. If they get to that 1 seed, I think they're definitely the team to beat, to have to just win a divisional round game and go into the championship game here at home would be a great scene, I think, for this team. Excuse me real quick. Roster kind of got shaken up. Scott, give us your thoughts here. Grable's back. Tuhill to the practice squad after being cut. Virgil and Clapp as well on the practice squad. So with the roster shakeup, what are you thinking about some of the decisions to be made? They kept D tackles. I didn't think they would keep both Gordon Phillips and Quentin Jefferson. They did. Cut Tuhill in the end. I thought they really liked Tuhill because they brought him in kind of earlier on in free agency, and I thought they kind of had him tabbed as a guy with a certain role. But things evolve. Dwan Smoot actually has had a pretty good role. So I guess what are your thoughts overall on some of the roster shakeup there?
Yeah, so you mentioned Tuhill and the guy they had a role for they really like. Like, I don't necessarily know if that role changes, because I was reading that his contract, like the way it's set up, like the way his money was guaranteed, like we already like paid him for the year, like he's already been paid. Like it doesn't affect the salary cap bringing him back. And now that he's brought back on the practice squad, if we want, we can call him up for the last 3 games because you get free practice squad call ups, and then in the playoffs you get unlimited call ups. So if they want to dress him every game for the rest of the season, they can, and it doesn't change anything. And with the shakeup and Grable coming back to the active roster, which I'm also very excited about because the Bills seem to really like him. He's a 6th round pick, made the team, brought him back on IR when they could have just let him like set in the rest of the season on IR. Didn't necessarily need him, but they really like him. So excited for him to maybe get some reps and down the stretch here. Maybe they rest some guys as we get closer to the end of the year if things are already locked up. Like, he could play meaningful snaps that could help him develop. And then just having him around for the playoffs, that's always big. And yeah, like Tuhill, like happy he cleared waivers. I'm assuming they thought he would do that because otherwise they probably wouldn't let him go. But yeah, like he still could have that same role because he could still play in every game the rest of the way. And then Eli Anku, I forgot to write it down on the roster on the rundown. I was kind of surprised they released him off the practice squad. He's shown some flashes when he's been active. You would imagine he's the guy we're going to see back down the line, maybe next training camp, something like that. But yeah, happy for Grable that he's back. Happy that Tuhill, found his way home. And then, Virgil and Clapp are guys who've been active for a good bit of the season. So having them around for the playoffs when you get unlimited call-ups again, definitely something that's helpful, and kind of happy with the way everything shook out.
Yeah, I agree with Scott for the most part. I mean, when it comes to especially the defensive tackle, like you mentioned there, Lance, the fact that they did keep that many and that they're opting for that route and went with cutting Hill and Anku, it's definitely a little bit of a shock, but it also, I think, talks towards how confident they are in their defensive tackles and their defensive ends. So to me, it tells me that they are pretty confident in who they have on the edge there. They don't really want that extra body in Hill, and it tells me that they don't have too much confidence in defensive tackles, that they need that extra one there to say, hey, we still haven't figured out who's going to be there super consistent. You at Oliver will get there. We'll be getting a majority of snaps at D tackle, but then who else is going to be next to him in that rotation? Who's going to be filling in and kind of filling that role? Tells me they don't really know 100% yet. Anku, I was a little bit of a shock to me that they did cut him, but I feel like we've seen it so much now where they've brought him up, cut him, brought him back on the practice squad. Like Scott said, he'll be back some way somehow within the next 12 months. So it's kind of a little bit of a confusing cut for me there, but at the end of the day, I like the move so far. Grable is, like Scott said too, looking like a guy that they really like, and maybe another late round kind of rotational guy that if we need him down the road, if somebody gets hurt, they have the confidence for him to step in if needed. And maybe next year he'll fill that role of that extra lineman that comes out in those jumbo packages. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, I'm not mad about any of the moves, and I'm not jumping with joy, I guess, with any of the moves, but I like them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's necessarily that they don't know who's going to take a role, but I think if they want to be able to stop the run in this late season, colder weather, they're understanding that they're going to need some bodies to throw in there. Excuse me. And so having Austin Johnson, Quentin Jefferson, and Jordan Phillips all kind of to rotate in with Daquan, and also having Dwayne Carter, excuse me. So, Carter and Oliver probably rotate in. Phillips is kind of either way. And then, you have Jones, Johnson, and Jefferson kind of rotating in as the bigger guys. I think that just bodes well for maybe more run defense if they think they're going to need that, more guys to be in there. But I like that point that Casey Hill can be elevated if they want to, bring him in and still play him. I guess I don't know who they would sit. It'll be interesting to keep seeing each week, if they have just, hey, it'll take care of itself because guys are going to be injured and will be inactive anyway, and then we'll be able to bring these guys up either way. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and I'm interested to see what Grable does coming back here, what he can really bring to the table, and mention the injuries may take care of itself. So let's just get into that now. Nobody's out, which is good. We got Rasul Douglas, DeMar Hamlin, Matt Milano, Curtis Samuel, Taylor Rapp, Balin Spector, and Dorian Williams all questionable. So what's that? 7 guys questionable. So a lot of guys who may or may not play. Looks like most of them were limited for the most of the week. So no real surprises. Spector, I guess, popped up on Thursday, but overall, let's get just some quick thoughts on the injury report. If you have any inkling on guys that may or may not play, and just any thoughts on if it affects the game this week. I mean, I'm not sure it does overall, given the inferior opponent that they play. But just let me know what you think really about these 7 guys and just overall, the health of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it will affect the outcome of the game too much, even if all 7 of them end up not playing. The only one that kind of, to me, we saw what happened last week with Rapp and Hamlin out, so we know kind of the answer there if both of them end up being out this week. Linebacker, I mean, 3 guys there, and you saw Spector a lot on the field last week, and people were kind of confused why it was him over Dorian. Find out Dorian's got the elbow. Does he end up playing? I mean, we'll see what happens with the linebackers, but having those 3 out, I mean, who do you have then step up? Is it going to be Andreessen that steps up? You have Olaf Osho. Is he going to step up then if all 3 of them are out? My guess is that they're going to have at least 2 of them playing. My guess would be Milano's the one that might be out in this situation, just because, again, we've seen him injured in the past. Why kind of risk it against an inferior opponent, and especially against a team that you don't really necessarily, or you're not looking at this game and saying we need Matt Milano for this game, so why risk him furthering an injury, right? So I feel like Milano, if out of those three, will be the one that if they do have to force two of them to play, he'll be the one that's not forced to play, just because, again, his level of talent, his injury history, just overall everything. When you look at it, Milano looks like the one that you wouldn't want to rush in. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if maybe Joe Andreessen gets a little bit of playing time this week. Olafosho again, maybe on the defensive side instead of more special teams. But nothing I'm looking at and saying, oh, that we're in real danger if this guy doesn't play. Just again because it's an inferior opponent.
Yeah, at this point in the season, obviously playing for seeding, but it's not like they need to risk anything. So if they're not 100%, like it's not worth playing guys. So I would imagine Milano probably sits. Groins are tricky. They have a tendency to rear up again, especially the cold it's going to be. That's hamstring pulling weather, as they say. It needs to be like a high of 17 or something like that. So I don't think it's worth it unless guys are 100% back. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Rapp and Hamlin played, because it seemed like their injuries were a little bit more, I want to say minor, because they're all injuries, but they like Hamlin's popped up in practice last week. Taylor Rapp was a little more questionable, so maybe they're back. But yeah, I feel like Rasul Douglas probably sits, Milano probably sits, and then I feel like Dorian will probably play. He did come back into the game on Sunday at the end, towards the end of the fourth quarter. But yeah, if you're not 100%, it's not worth getting it re-aggravated. We'd rather these guys sit now than down the line when you really need them. You guys got anything else on that before we hop over to the offense?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think I kind of said it before I threw it to you guys that I don't think it really matters, but it would be nice. I guess it would be nice to be able to have your full complement out there for division games. They're always tough games, but in the cold weather, especially with a tough opponent in the Patriots, at least gonna be physical with you. I don't mind having some guys kind of just chill and be able to come back. Definitely want some guys for the Jets game, though. Definitely don't want anything popping up. They kind of went off last week, and we'll talk about that more next week. But definitely hoping that people can get a week here if they need it, and then kind of start that, making sure that they're good for the playoff push, really.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers just kind of decided to only throw to Devontae Adams, and it turns out that's a really good strategy. So yeah, we'll see about that next week. But
yeah, we got one question here in the comments before we move on to the offense. There, do you think anyone's going to be called up? So I guess Scott talked about Casey Toohill, right? So I think that he could be a call up. We'll see if he's active. We'll see if Kareem Jackson or Micah Hyde. I think one of the safeties probably gets called up with these guys in the DB room being questionable. I think you have one of those guys getting called up. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would say the only ones maybe to me, unless both of them are out with Hamlin and Rapp, I don't really see anybody this week unless it's Kareem Jackson. If Micah Hyde gets called up, I think the whole stadium will lose their mind as soon as he takes a step on that football field. But yeah, those are really the two that kind of stand out the most to me, just because again, I don't really see. I don't see, unless somebody pops up like Saturday morning or Sunday morning with an injury, when it comes to the edge rushers, I don't see Toohill getting called up this week at least. Maybe I think that they might want to just even opt for. I saw John say it might get Javon Solomon a little bit in the rotation a little bit more. But yeah, when it comes to anybody, I think if it would be most likely Kareem Jackson. Micah Hyde would probably be, again, still a long shot to get called up. I still don't think we'll really see him at all, unless it's like a situation where in the playoffs we have literally every safety hurt and we absolutely just need somebody in there. But yeah, I would say most likely Kareem Jackson.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, I was kind of doing some maybe like Kingsley Jonathan, if they're trying to get him a game check. They've called up Mike White a couple times just to get him a game check for kind of like a reward for practicing so well. So maybe someone like that. Like they maybe call up someone random, like Daquan Hardy, even just get him a game check for a season's hard work. But hopefully some of those DBs play and we don't need to call up anybody. But yeah, maybe Jackson, maybe Lewis Seen sign. Is it Seen or sign? I always flip it.
Seen, it's Seen. Yeah.
I should have stuck with my choice, my first
right.
guess. So maybe one of those guys, but probably no one else.
I would just like to see. I don't know if they're going to do it. Maybe they'll do it the last game of the season where they call up Micah Hyde just to get him in front of. Are they home? No, they're home against the Jets. So it's either this week or next where they would maybe just call him up just to get the fans excited and be able to introduce him back. And I mean, I guess they need all their roster spots. I get, but I mean, if they can get him in there and just maybe get him a play or two, just start getting his feet wet. Again, with the weather being so cold, maybe that's not really the situation to do it in, but I mean, this is going to be what it is for the
it's tough
foreseeable future for the season. It's going to be cold, so he's going to have to get out there if he's going to play at all. I guess he's going to have to start getting his toe wet now.
Yeah, it'd be tough to go from not doing anything for the whole season and then a few weeks of not even really practicing because they just did walkthroughs and then they didn't practice last week and then going into a game and getting hit. Like that's how you get hurt. So I think it's going to be a long runway for Micah, if at all.
Right on.
All right. You boys want to switch over to some offense talk?
Let's do it.
Some are saying a historic offense. I think I saw they're one of 4 or 5 teams to average over 3 points a drive ever. That'd be pretty cool if they can hold on to that. It's like the 2007 Patriots, the Broncos with Peyton Manning, and then someone else I can't remember. I should have brought the stat and been more prepared, but that would have required preparation. Lance, can the Bills' offense stay hot against the Patriots? And if so, how?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Patriots' defense is not top of the league by any means. They have some guys who, they're some of their top players have went down, and Barmore and their guys they're in the safety room. Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers being questionable means they're banged up. Marcus Jones is out, so we'll see. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez super good, but we'll see who else they can really make an impact on this game. I expect the Bills to really be able to do whatever they want. They are going to pick a couple of guys out who they think they want to kind of get the ball to in a matchup. I assume they'll probably just avoid Christian Gonzalez this game and be able to pick on whomever else they feel like. And I don't know that they couldn't really pick on Gonzalez either, but why test it if there's other areas where there's matchups? So, I think they definitely will be able to air it out in this game, as well as kind of find some room along the offensive line as well to get some runs in. So I just don't think that this opponent really poses a threat. If they're going to not be dynamic this game, it's going to be because of what they do, not because of what the other team does.
Yeah, Lance, I think you hit it on the head there. I mean, I don't think they'll do a really crazy. I don't think they'll do a lot when it comes to the offense, when it comes to showing a lot of different plays and kind of just, getting Allen to run the ball a lot. I think they'll keep it on the ground. Like Hulu here says, keep it on the ground, give it to James Cook, give it to Ray Davis, give it to Ty Johnson. We've seen what all three of them can do. They are arguably the best trio of running backs in the NFL. I mean, they put it on display last week when you saw all of them involved in some way. So I think lean on those three. Let Josh make the throws when he needs to. Get it underneath, get it out fast, and don't really have to try to do too much. Maybe we see a trick play thrown in there if they really want to get fancy and they're up a lot.
Save those for games that you need them.
Yeah, that's true as well. But I mean, at the end of the day, this defense is nothing crazy. Like you said again with Christian Gonzalez, stay away from him maybe as much as possible. Pick on everybody else because Christian Gonzalez is a phenomenal cornerback in this league, but he doesn't really have much help elsewhere. Jabril Peppers, I know, has had a pretty solid year. Duggar can make plays as well, but at the end of the day, when you only have those three and then you have a defensive line that's really been struggling and linebacking corp that really is nothing special, it's going to be tough for a defense to kind of get rolling week after week there. So yeah, keep it on the ground, keep it simple, and just get out of there with the win.
Yeah, I agree. The Patriots pass defense is middle of the league. Everything else is towards the bottom. Is that because they're any good? Maybe. Is that because teams are winning a lot and they don't pass much in the second half? Probably. You mentioned Christian Gonzalez. He's obviously a stud, second year out of Oregon. It might snow on Sunday, so Jabril Peppers might be extra fired up. So, definitely going to have to watch out for him. We talked about them running the ball a little bit, so we kind of skip over that and go to the next thing. What are you guys looking for out of the offense in the next 3 games before we go into the playoffs? Ben?
I'm just looking for them to continue to take care of the football, right? That's the number one thing, is show that even against an inferior opponents that you're not going to get lackadaisical, you're not going to get lazy with it, and you're not going to have dumb turnovers that can kind of affect the offense rolling into that playoffs, right? You want to keep it going and keep it so your offense knows that, hey, no matter who we play, we're going to take care of the football. We're going to do our job. We're going to put points on the board. And that's the number one thing that I'm looking to see, is just continue to take care of the football, continue to run the ball, keep the offensive line going, and utilize everybody. That's the number one thing, again, is I saw John say Dawson Knox had a nice fingertip catch. Ty Johnson got involved last week. Khalil Shakir, we know what he can do. I mean, the only person we didn't really see last week was Amari Cooper, and we've seen what he can do in other games as well. So continue to get everybody involved. Don't force it. And just keep having fun with it and have fun going into the playoffs.
I unmuted. I was saying it would be kind of funny if Amari Cooper was able to kind of beat up on Christian Gonzalez over the next couple of games. They played twice. So if they do kind of flex a little bit, saying, oh, yeah, he was a non-factor in the other game, but we're going to go out here and show him that he can still ball. So that, that would be nice to see a little bit. But I don't have anything. Really just want to see him stay healthy, really. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if they could just run Ty Johnson and Ray Davis for the next 3 games and have success, that would be fine with me, and throw a couple balls over the top. But I don't really need to see anything specific. I'd rather not see anything spectacular, because we need to have those plays and things saved for the playoffs and make sure that we're able to save our best stuff for when it matters the most. I don't know how much you buy into people saving things, but I definitely think that to some degree they're going to have to hold on to some stuff and make sure that in the playoffs. Now, the other side of it is they may want to practice a couple of those things, over the next couple of weeks to see how it works in a game situation. So you might see a couple of things that are out of the ordinary, like why would they run that in the regular season when we're going, and this is a comment I started here, I want to bring it up, is do you think we'll see a big boy touchdown before the end of the regular season? So, this could be something fun to keep the guys engaged and stuff like that. I think we could definitely see it, but I wanted to definitely get your thoughts, Scott, and then also Ben, after he's through, let us know, like, you guys think there's no room for any sort of trick play like this, or do you think we'll see something in the regular season?
I think it's definitely possible. They've run it in the past. Deion Dawkins has 2 touchdowns. Tommy Doyle had the one in the playoffs against the Patriots, and that game was already in hand when they ran that play. So they could be something that maybe they don't love it enough to run it in the playoffs, like if it's risky, but they haven't run it yet, that they want to do. So like maybe they go out there and do it now. Like if they get a lead, maybe we'll see a little like Alec Anderson leak out because he always, comes in as eligible, or try to get Deion his 3rd touchdown, something like that. Or maybe they run something extra crazy like Penn State had their tight end play center, then run down the field and score a touchdown. So we just played the Lions and Dan Skipper scored, so called that. Just want to remind everybody of that. So maybe they got some inspiration, but yeah, it could be a case of they have a nice trick play in that they don't trust enough in the playoffs, so why not run it now? So it definitely be really fun, and you mentioned it, get the guys super fired up.
Yeah, I was about to say, actually, right there what Holman said with Gilliam. I think, does Gilliam count as a big man? I don't know. He's a fullback. He's bigger compared to, I guess, majority of the playmakers on the offensive line. But I mean, I'm not going to anticipate a big man touchdown, at least on offense. I'd actually think maybe defensively we could see one, because we've seen, some big man touchdown on defense this year already. We've seen them make plays and get interceptions. So maybe that ends up being the big man touchdown. But offensively, I'm not going to anticipate one. It'd be cool if we do. But I do think that if we see Gilliam out there, we might see him get a little bit more involved the next 3 games, just to say, hey, you've done your job this year. You haven't been super involved, at least when it comes to getting the ball let's give him the ball a little bit, see what he can do, get him involved here, and keep people maybe on their toes then going into the playoffs of saying, hey, if Gilliam's out there, watch for a leak or watch for him to surprisingly get the ball. So I'm not going to anticipate a big man touchdown. It'd be cool, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely something to look out for. You mentioned maybe run some kind of trick play. If they have something they really like, imagine they save it. But who knows? Maybe we'll see something just to give the people something for Christmas. As we do every week, Lance, we'll start with you. Who needs to step up and who's the MVP?
On the Bills offense, I mean, stepping up this week's a little bit tough because it doesn't you kind of think that they're going to be able to pick their poison and do what they want. But if that's the case and they can kind of just pick their poison, I really want to see the tight ends get a little bit more run here and maybe get them in the end zone as well. So I know I was a big proponent of that Dawson Knox anytime touchdown early in the season or that sort of thing. But I definitely want to see, these guys kind of get into the end zone, kind of get into the game plan a little bit more. If we're able to do kind of whatever we want and we're going to throw the ball, I kind of want it to go to them. And then MVP, like I mentioned, I think like a Ray Davis this game, don't make it all James Cook. Let's let one of the backup guys, if they can carry the ball and really, like people mentioned, kind of carry the rock, take the pressure off Josh, not really make the offense easy, really. So that's really what I'm looking for. Make the offense easy, and not have to play our starters a ton in a game that's going to be freezing cold. Hopefully a guy like Ray Davis emerges and can be that MVP this week.
Yeah, step up again. Yeah, like you said, Lance, it's not like anybody really necessarily needs to step up. I mean, I was thinking of saying maybe, Josh needs to step up in the way of just continuing to take care of the football, but that's not stepping up. That's just continuing to do what we're doing. I guess the number one guy that I would say isn't even a player, and he had a great game last week. I'm going to go with Joe Brady. Joe Brady just needs to step up and call a good game and not put your players in positions to turn the ball over, not put Josh in positions to get hit, and just call a game that you can look back and say it wasn't flashy, but it got the job done, right? And that's kind of what he's been doing. There hasn't been too much flash on the offense, but it's been getting the job done. It's been very good. So I think this is a game exactly like that, where Brady just has to keep on doing what he's doing and don't try to get too fancy. I know we were just talking about, trick plays, and maybe we'll see one. And, if you try one. Let's not try 5 of them in one game. Let's just keep it simple here and just run the football. So, yeah, my step up, I guess, is not even a player. I'm going to say just Joe Brady in general just needs to call a good game, and they'll get out of there with the win. MVP, I'm going to go with Ray Davis just because, one, I need him in fantasy because of one injuries, and it's the last place. And if I lose this week, I have to do the punishment. He's my RB2, so I'm going to need him to have a good game this week. Not looking great, but if he can be the MVP, I'll have a chance. So I'm going to go with him and just kind of hope that he can find the end zone once or twice. And again, hope they lean on him. So we'll see.
That wasn't planned either. I had no idea that Ray Davis was on Ben's fantasy team. I'm hoping to see Ben's fantasy team in the Built-in Buffalo finals next week. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But good luck to Ray Davis, I guess.
Yeah, so my step up, I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid. Going to be a cold game. He came back from injury last week. He played pretty well, but we're still kind of waiting for him to take that next step, the step that we thought he was going to take. A lot of people were saying, oh, this offense doesn't need a wide receiver one. Like, it's Dalton Kincaid, blah, blah, blah. That hasn't been the case. He hasn't been bad by any means, but he hasn't necessarily been what everybody hoped he would be. I think a lot of people thought that he was going to be, going to lead the team in yards, at least lead the team in targets. I know he's missed some games, but that wouldn't have come close to happening anyway. Khalil Shakir's played awesome, so take nothing away from him. But we'd like to see Dalton Kincaid kind of start to get hot, start to get rolling. He's healthy now. Going to need him in the playoffs, so would like to see him step up in this game against the Patriots. And then my MVP, I'm just going to go with the whole offensive line. Going to have to run the ball a lot, like we said, because it's going to be cold. Probably going to run the ball a lot because hopefully they're winning. So the only way that's going to happen is if the offensive line can get some push going forward. They were awesome last week. And the Lions' defensive front, as banged up as they are, is still a heck of a lot better than the Patriots. So looking for the offensive line to be the MVP on Sunday.
Yeah, that was really good. Kudos to you again. Not to belabor the point, but I think we just hit the nail on the head last week a lot about, getting the lead early, kind of, you mentioned getting that 2-score lead early, and we did, and that kind of was the whole precipice for winning the whole game last week. So definitely one of those things where just give you a little bit of kudos there of like, yeah, that was the perfect game plan of what they needed to set out to do, and then they nailed it. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I think they held the Lions to like 48 yards rushing. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I think though time to move on to the defense there, and I just want to bring this up as well before we move on to anybody that is forgetting. John, it's a good reminder here. The game did get flexed. It is 4:25. It is not a 1 o'clock game. It's 4:25. So if you're tailgating, if you're even just planning to watch the game, don't sit down at 1 o'clock and think that the game is going to be on. You can watch another game. There'll be other games on, but it is flexed to 4:25 in Buffalo this week. So a good little reminder there, but it's time to talk about the Bills defense. And just like the Bills offense, there's not really too much to be worried about, I guess. Maybe I think the injuries, we talked about them, that might be the biggest worry for the Buffalo Bills this week, because the offense for the Patriots has been bad, to say the least. That's really one word to describe it. I'm not going to go any deeper than that, just because I don't want to make the Patriots fans too mad. But yeah, I mean, we'll see Drake May this week. We kind of thought that towards the end of the season he'd be in. He was in a lot sooner than I think people thought this year, but he's in. He's been playing. He's shown some signs of looking like the guy for the future. Right? He's looked like a guy that can be the Patriots quarterback, can develop. But I'm going to start off with talking about the comparisons to Josh. There's been some comps between those two, and just how Drake May plays. And Drake May, I think, even spoke on it and said, I got a long way to go until I can say that I'm like Josh Allen. So I just want to get your thoughts on that, guys. We'll start with you, Scott. What do you think about the comparisons between Josh and Drake May?
Yeah, it's easy to see where they come from. He's a big quarterback. He's kind of raw, can make all the throws, is a great athlete, can move the ball with his feet. So easy to see where those comparisons come from. So far this season, obviously, what have they won? 2 games? Like they're not a good football team, but like you've seen things out of Drake May that make you think like, yeah, like he could be the guy of the future. Kind of like Josh Allen when he was a rookie. I think that game against the Jaguars where he like made that throw to Robert Foster, like while he was getting hit, and he ran it for a touchdown, and then he won AFC Player of the Week against the Dolphins in Week 17, back when there was only 16 games and things were the way they should be. Like you saw those flashes of like, okay, he's raw, he's gonna make mistakes, he's gonna make you scratch your head, but like you see it's in there. I kind of think that that's what we're seeing with Drake May. He's maybe even a little bit behind where Josh was when he was coming into the league, and for sure doesn't have any help. But yeah, I can see where those comparisons come from. I definitely think that the Patriots have their guy. Now it's just time to build a team around him, and that honestly could start with a new coach.
Yeah, what do you think there, Lance? What do you draw from the Josh Allen and the Drake and Josh comparisons?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Scott mentioned there about size and athleticism there. Seems very patient. Doesn't it's got 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, which isn't great by any means, but doesn't seem to put the ball in harm's way a ton for a rookie, which is nice to see. If you're a fan of his, but overall, yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about it. It's I agree he's got a long way to go to get to obviously where Josh is and to be anywhere near it, but definitely a loose comparison there to start their careers, and we'll see, how Drake progresses throughout here and what he can do to elevate his game and turn it into more wins. I mean, they're not necessarily scoring a ton of points, and I was going to maybe get into this a little bit later, but it's worth mentioning here. I mean, I think 25 points is their highest output on offense here, so doesn't seem to be killing people with his legs all that much, and to be able to score more than 25 points. So we'll see what happens on Sunday, but I don't expect necessarily that he's going to blow up or really hurt the Bills too much. Rookie QBs tend to not do so well facing McDermott for the first time, and I kind of expect that to continue.
Yeah, I mean, the comparisons for me, they're I guess cool for Pats fans to be able to say like, hey, he's got a little bit of Josh in him. I mean, the situation he's in is also just horrible. I mean, the offensive line's terrible. The weapons are terrible. The coaching I know it's his first year for Mayo, but it's left a lot to be desired from Patriots fans. But from what I hear, especially from a lot of Patriots fans, I've watched as many games as I can of them. But from what I've watched or heard from them, they love what they're seeing from Drake May, and they just want to be able to get him a clean pocket for once, because their offensive line, like I said, is one of the worst in the NFL, if not the worst in the NFL. I know the Bears probably hold that one, but it's. I can't really say anything about comparing him to Josh, because again, we haven't been able to see him with even a mediocre cast around him, because it's been, like you said, it's been brutal. It's been horrible. And we'll see, I guess, about the North Carolina, see how he does here. I mean, he's been playing in New England this year. He's already started to get cold. Like, I can't remember last week if they were home or away last week. But I mean, I don't know if the cold will affect him too much. We'll see on Sunday, but at the end of the day, I'm not really going to get too deep into the comparisons yet. I think next year will be more of a sign, because they'll probably have Travis Hunter on their team. It's looking like that he'll be going there just based on what the order's looking like for the draft, and we'll probably go heavy offensive line, but we'll see what goes on with them this offseason, see if they kind of keep things up on offense. But not too much to really talk about when it comes to his comparisons yet this year. But we are talking about Drake May, so it's kind of just right into it with the passing offense for the Patriots. For me, I'm just going to say right now, my only area of concern is the fact that the Bills might have a lot of injuries on that side of the football, in the secondary especially. But even then, I'm not really too concerned, so I'll get your guys' thoughts. Lance, are you kind of worried at all in any way, shape, or form with this passing offense for the Patriots?
Just need to make sure guys don't get behind you. I think most of I've seen Drake May's 12 touchdowns there, and nearly half of them were from 20 yards or more out. So definitely want to make sure you keep guys in front of you. Don't let the guys get behind you. Don't let them catch and run with it. So those are the areas where the Bills typically succeed and excel with this scheme. So I'm not overly concerned, but some fantasy guys are thinking that Keyshawn Boutte may have a better fantasy week, or he's projected at like double-digit points. I saw, and I'm like, he's all right, but I don't know if that's just the league scoring format that I have in one of my leagues or what. But I thought that was pretty, ballsy that they're gonna pick a Patriots receiver to get double digits against the Bills defense. But we'll see how that works. And in the passing game, really just a matter of keeping contained overall. Keeping the guys from getting over the top. Keeping the quarterback hemmed in so he doesn't get out and hurt you with the legs as unbroken plays. That's really maybe my more so concern, is that they drop back to pass, and then Drake May finds a seam and hurts you with his legs more than anything. Overall, not anything to be overly concerned of, as long as the Bills are playing and executing their scheme.
I will say the Patriots have good tight ends. Like, that would be the one spot you think maybe they can beat you with something. Hunter Henry's had 600 yards already this season. Austin Hooper is also no slouch. Like, they do have a solid 1-2 punch of tight ends. And if they try to go big, we're going to talk about it later, but they can run the ball with Ramondre. I know their O-line is bad, but if they can kind of get him rolling, get going downhill, get those two tight ends involved, and then they can do certain things off of that, like, that could maybe give them some kind of hope, is that they do have good tight ends. They can run the ball. And then Boutte, like you mentioned, is a downfield threat. He was a big-time recruit out of high school, never really panned out like he was supposed to at LSU. And just like his talent's kind of keeping him around. But who knows? Maybe the fantasy guys are right, and this is the week he figures it all out, doesn't get in trouble, and puts it all together. So that's the one area of concern maybe, is that they have really good tight ends. But, Sean McDermott, he's a rookie QB. They're going to show him things that he's probably never seen before. He's going to get to the line and see one thing, and they're going to flip at the snap and be in something completely different. And after that, he's not going to have time to go through his reads, because what he thought was going to be his read wasn't his read. Now it's not anymore. They looked like man. Now it's zone. The play's not there, and by that point, he's sacked. So they're going to do the best job of speeding up the game for Drake May, making him think he's seeing one thing and then it's another. So I don't know if he's going to have much time to get the ball out to his players. But like I said, they have good tight ends.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you just touched on there that I think a lot of Bills fans want to see, is they want to see Drake May under duress all game. They want to see Rousseau getting back there, Ed getting back there, Vaughn, the whole defensive line. You want to see them have a good game, especially because of the fact that they have a very, very poor offensive line, but they can get it going sometimes in the run game. We kind of touched on that, so let's get right into that before we talk about what the Bills you want to see the next 3 games from the defense. The Bills have given up some points lately to 2 very good offenses, so that might be part of the reason as well. But the one guy that can get this offense going is Ramondre Stevenson. They do have Antonio Gibson there as well. He doesn't get the ball a ton, but he gets some 5 to 8 touches a game-ish. So he's another guy. So what do you guys think? Can the Bills stop the run here with Milano potentially out, with the injuries in the linebacking corps? Does the run game for the Patriots worry you guys at all? Scott, we'll start with you.
It's another one of those situations of you hope they get a lead on a inferior team and they can't run the ball anymore. But if somehow there's some shenanigans and they can kind of hang around and they're able to run the ball the whole way, like things could get a little bit hairy just because Ramondre Stevenson is really good. He is maybe a top 20 back in the league, something like that. Would probably be putting up better numbers if he was on a different team. Has a real shot to go over 1,000 yards this season, so he is good. So you hope they can get the lead, make Drake May have to beat you passing the ball, but yeah, like I wouldn't say it overly worries me. And you mentioned they gave up a lot of points the past couple weeks. The second half of the last game, the entire second half, they were just in a shell, essentially. Like they were nothing over our heads, everything in front of us. If they score, that's fine because we know we're going to score. And I don't want to say it was garbage time because it was a 1-score game at the end, but a lot of the second half was garbage time. So I'm not as worried about that. But, talk about something you want to see in the next 3 weeks. I would like to see the defense get right. I don't think they're wrong right now by any means, but they can tighten up, should put up 3 dominant performances against 3 inferior teams. And I think they're going to have a ton of confidence going into the playoffs. Hopefully they're healthy and then they can just kind of ride it from there.
Yeah, I think it definitely is going to help the Bills be successful to stop Stevenson first. But like Scott said, if you get a lead on him, make it so that running the ball just isn't conducive to trying to win the game. To stop them basically from handing the ball off at all. That's really the main goal. So, like I mentioned when we were talking about the roster shakeup here, having those 6 DTs allows you to kind of help that rotation stay healthy, and that's going to be one of the biggest things against the run. You also have Dwan Smoot back now, who can play edge or play out in the inside as well. So having those guys back too kind of helps bolster this run defense because it starts up front. And I know you mentioned Matt Milano and without him, but they're almost probably better stopping the run without him if they have guys like Williams who can kind of be that missile torpedo at the running backs. So I'm looking for a big day for the linebackers, and if the defensive line stays fresh in that rotation, can eat up those blocks and let the linebackers take care of it. Ramondre is definitely good, all the respect to him, but I think that like the game plan is just going to be we're going to score some points. The Patriots won't be able to run the ball anymore to try to stay in it, and we roll from there.
Yeah, I mean, for the run game, it doesn't really. I'm not too concerned against it. I would like to see them maybe get a fumble punched out there because Stevenson has had fumbling problems in the past, and even this year, I believe he got benched early in the year because of that. So yeah, I mean, the run game, unless the Bills are struggling offensively, I don't expect the Pats run game to really be heavily involved just because, again, like Scott said, if they get down, they're going to have to throw the ball. You can't just keep running it. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned or anything. I'm interested to see how the Bills play it. If they do go heavy against the run and really kind of bring the pressure to say, hey, we're going to dare you to throw the football and see if Drake May can make some plays. But yeah, I'm not gonna really be too concerned with the run game, just because again, Stevenson, even though he's a good running back, he's not one of those running backs that's going to put the fear in me of like, oh, he can carry this offense to a win against this Bills team. So at the end of the day, not too much to be worried about when it comes to the Buffalo Bills defense. And there's not really too much to really be worried about this game. I know it's kind of been the growing theme of this show has been, oh, what is there really to worry about? The irony would be if the Bills do end up somehow losing this football game on Sunday. Like I said, we don't think that will really happen. But yeah, well, we talked about with the offense. Let's talk about the defense now. What do you want to see from the defense going into these last 3 games? Mine's going to be real simple. I just really hope everybody stays healthy, and I'd like to see especially the defensive line get going to go into the playoffs, to get into kind of that confidence going into the playoffs there for the defensive line. So those mines are real quick. Just stay healthy, and I'd love to really see the pass rush get going these next 3 games. So, Lance, what do you want to see these next 3 games from the Buffalo Bills defense?
I think, I'm going to piggyback off what Scott said a little bit in kind of that dominating performance. I really want to see Greg Rousseau kind of impose his will on some offensive linemen over the next 3 weeks. And then I want to see as well the defense just hold the opposing offenses to less points. Let's make sure that they're not scoring more than 20 points on this defense over the next 3 weeks. If like I said, the Patriots' highest clip so far is 25 on the season. So let's make sure that we're, holding them below that, not giving up their highest scoring output of the season in either game. And then, against the Jets, obviously coming off a performance they had, you want to make sure you can keep them down and still show dominance. So I really just want to see low point totals from these offenses the next 3 games. And also, like you mentioned, the health thing is huge. The next 3 games are really about staying healthy and getting the playoffs are locked up here. You have to get into them without any major injury to any other players. They've already kind of banged up. They got 7 guys, not all on defense, but 7 guys that are questionable here this week that are kind of nicked up. So hopefully we can get through these next 3 games, definitely with health first and foremost.
Yeah, I'll echo it for the 3rd time. Health is the biggest thing, kind of been the biggest issue with this defense all season. When they're healthy, they play great. When guys get banged up, obviously not so much. So health, and then, like Lance, like you said, just play the way you're supposed to. Ending the season with 3 teams that aren't great. Obviously, the Jets offense has good names on paper, and they could be good next week, but you don't know how they're going to show up. But just dominate these teams like you should, get a rhythm, get some confidence going into the playoffs, and then hopefully that just keeps rolling.
Before we do our who needs to step up in MVP, there's 2 questions here that I'm going to bring up. The first one, I think we'll all probably have the same answer to, but it's from John here. Do you think that they will rest Josh if they are way ahead? I'm going to say simply yes. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before the show. I do expect Mitchell Trubisky to come in the 4th quarter. I don't expect this to be a game that Josh Allen's going to have to play all 60 minutes. So I guess we'll get your thoughts there. Scott, what do you think? Do you think Josh Allen is going to be rested at all to this game?
Yeah, but no more than like a normal blowout. I don't think they're going to start sitting guys early, like in order to rest them for the playoffs, because rest versus rust is a very real thing. So yeah, if they get a big lead, I think they'll sit them and let Mitch go in there and spin it, but no more than they would normally.
Right, 4th quarter, they're up. Go ahead, sit them down. I don't really want to see many of our starters play in any of these 4th quarters. I mean, if you want to talk about goals over the next 3 games for the team as a whole, I don't want to see starters playing in the 4th quarter over these next 3 games. And it goes into the health thing, but I guess if they've taken care of business and they go into the 4th quarter with a comfortable margin, I'd say, 17 or more? Does it got to be 20? I don't know. But if it's, for me, it's 17 or more, you're good. You let those second stringers go in, and they've got talent. They're a deep roster. There's no reason they can't hold a 2.5 score lead or whatever you want to say. So 3 possession game at that point in the 4th quarter should be able to take care of business there.
Yeah. And even if Josh Allen is in the 4th, hopefully it's just handoffs and he's just not having to do too much. But last question before we get into the who needs to step up and MVP on the defensive side. Phenomenal question here. We have just tuning in. Don't know if you've addressed this or not. We have not. How much do you think the result of tomorrow's Kansas City-Houston game affects the team's effort? Lance, let's start with you. What do you think about the Houston-KC game and how it affects the Bills?
On Sunday, I don't think it's going to matter. I think they want this game, regardless being in division. They know they got to take care of business, to have a shot at the one moving forward. And whether it KC wins or loses on Sunday, they're still going to be behind them either way. So, or tomorrow, so Sunday's game is going to be the same effort-wise, regardless of that outcome. If they have if there's a point where KC loses their third game of the season, I don't know if you'll see just a little extra chip on the Bills' shoulders at that point, but otherwise, I think they're going into this with, look, we're trying to win a football game. It's the next game in front of us, and we're going to keep rolling on it.
Yeah, 0. They're not, obviously they're in the playoffs, but they're not locked into any seed by any means, and the 2 seed is a hell of a lot better than the 3 seed. So I think it has zero impact on the Bills' effort on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think it affects this game. If they lose to KC, if Houston loses or beats KC, if Houston beats KC this week, the only thing it might change is week 17 against the Patriots, because then the Chiefs play the Broncos. That could change a lot of things. They also play the Steelers next week. So there is a possibility if they do drop this game to Houston that week 16, 17 becomes more important, and maybe the chip on the Bills' shoulder grows then. But this week, I'm not sure. Yeah, this week I'm not sure if it really changes too much. At the end of the day, they're going to say, "Hey, we just got to go in. We got to take care of business," and that's pretty much, I think, the message going to be from Sean McDermott this Sunday is, "Hey, we got to defend our home field and get the job done here," and I think they'll do that. So, yeah, it'll affect things down the road. Not too much for this Sunday, but it is time though to finish off talking about the defense there. I know we kind of talked a little bit about Josh Allen and the kind of the other game there. But last, as we always do, who needs to step up? Who is the MVP? Lance, you started offense, so we'll start with Scott here this time. Scott, who's going to step up? Who's going to be the MVP?
My step up, go with Taron Johnson, just because I mentioned the strength of the Patriots offense besides Ramondre Stevenson is the tight ends. Taron Johnson could find himself covering either Austin Hooper or Hunter Henry quite a bit. So would like to see Taron Johnson step up and find that rhythm going into the playoffs. And then MVP, I can assume his performance last week was strictly because he's watched the show and heard us all say that he needs to step up. Ed Oliver, I think he's going to have another big game on Sunday, going against a not great offensive line in the Patriots. Hopefully he rides that momentum from the Lions game, and that's the Ed we're going to get the rest of the season, because if they want to win the Super Bowl, the Ed we got on Sunday is the Ed we're going to have to get from here on out.
Yeah, mine's going to be the same for both, actually. So stepping up and MVP. I think Terrell Bernard needs to step up and control the middle of the field here. Scott mentioned with the tight end talent that the Patriots have, I think Bernard's going to help a lot in taking the middle of the field away, making sure they don't have a lot of success with those guys. And then also Bernard in the run game, stepping up and making sure he fits those gaps and makes the plays on the Patriots running back there, who for whatever reason just escaped me. So, so I think Bernard ends up being the MVP because he does those things. He ends up taking away the middle of the field, maybe gets an interception, and then stops Ramondre Stevenson, for that mishap there. But Ramondre Stevenson definitely needs to be stopped, like we discussed. And I think Bernard's kind of one of those guys that comes in there and really lays the hammer for that.
Yeah, for me, step up. I'm just going to go with the safety room in general. I think, especially if Douglas doesn't play, the only way the Patriots offense keeps them in this game is if they continue to throw the football downfield and the Bills get beat deep. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that. Whoever is at safety, we obviously don't know who's going to be officially playing, who's going to be starting. Looking like maybe both of them will be back with Rapp and Hamlin. If not, Cole Bishop will be their Cam Lewis. So just in general, whoever is playing safety, I think needs to step up. MVP, I'm going to go with Von Miller. I think he'll have a good day. I think he'll maybe get a sack or two and just get in there. Yeah, I think he'll get in there. He'll take advantage of this poor offensive line from the Patriots. I think somebody hopefully will get back there, but I think it will be Von on this week against the Patriots and show, hey, I'm going to be that guy going to the playoffs, and I'm going to be the guy that they rely on third down to get after the quarterback. But at the end of the day, I think we could choose a million MVPs this game and a million guys who need to step up. But at the end of the day, this should be a game that the defense as a whole steps up and has a great game. So that's going to be it for the defensive talk. I know we sometimes we've been doing the bets. Are we still doing that this week? I know.
Yes, got one queued up.
I do have.
I do still bet yes. So
Well, it's been pretty much the Scott show for betting the past few weeks. It's been pretty much just Scott hitting everything and Lance and I whiffing. For me, I'm going to go with just another Sunday game. I do really like the Cardinals 4.5. I think that James Conner will have a day. I think the Cardinals will get the job done. The Panthers, I know Bryce Young has shown a little bit of signs this year, but I still think the Panthers are ways away, and they looked a little bit brutal this past Sunday. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals 4.5. I was looking at the other bird team there with the Eagles at 3.5, but either bird team, just their spread. So I'll go with them. But Scott, what do you got?
In college, if you can get it in right now before kickoff, I like Notre Dame tonight, -6.5 at home in the inaugural 12-team playoff game. I just don't think Indiana's that good. I know they're undaunted, and I know, they are a good team, but they didn't really play anybody. Their one tough game was against Ohio State, and they got shellacked. I think Notre Dame is a good team, and they've been red hot. So I like Notre Dame -6.5, and then tomorrow, I like SMU to cover against Penn State. I think that's at 8.5. Penn State can't even sell out this game. Tickets are going for like $35. My friend Nathaniel, who you may see in the comments, goes to Penn State, and he's not even going to the game. So I think that tells you what they think about it. So if they lose, yes, it is his fault. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So SMU tomorrow, Notre Dame tonight, and then in the NFL, it's an interesting week. A lot of road favorites, which could mean for some upsets.
Looks like the line's changing in the game I was going to take before the show. I think the Niners +1. I didn't, or maybe money line at least was plus money, but +1 for the Niners at the Dolphins at -115 right now. I'm taking Niners +1. Probably would take a money line if you're taking +1, but I guess I'll take the point if you're going to give it to me for not much different odds there. So my pick there is Niners +1.
Hey, they could tie.
The biggest thing I have to apologize from this show is that I didn't get Fatboy Slim Praise You queued up. If you guys don't know that song, I'm sorry, but Praise You Like I should have been our theme song for what we wanted to see over the next 3 weeks from the defense here. We want to be able to praise the defense like we should, if you will, because we hope that they're going to step up and do their thing. So, Ariolas thinks that Pittsburgh is not going to cover the spread this week. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. A lot of Lamar Jackson hasn't lost in week 15 or later, and Ravens haven't beat Pittsburgh, though, and things like that going on. So something's going to happen for the first time in a while that hasn't happened. So we'll see what exactly goes down. But that's going to do it for us here at Triple Coverage Podcast. Again, Monster Energy Drink, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo. We'll be over at the Big Tree Inn on Sunday. I'm taking this week off to rest a little bit. Scott's going to be out there with a couple other of our guys. So go over to the Big Tree Inn, say hello, grab some free Monster Energy before the game. Also, Buffalo Belia Sports and more. We appreciate them. You can see this awesome custom helmet over my shoulder here. They do really great work. So go check out the Buffalo Belia Sports and More Facebook page. Get in on some Square. You can get on Squares. You can get on different things. They got mystery boxes going on right now. So a lot of cool things you can get in on. Spend a little bit of money and get some cool custom Bill stuff. My wife ended up getting a little Patriots thing in on the show here, as you can see, Pat the Patriot there inside the helmet. So she did sneak one in on us and got me good. So she tried to put a hat next to the monster hat before the show, and we didn't allow it, but did get one in on us. So kudos to Jess to get a little one over on us and get a Patriots memorabilia on the show. Anyways, that'll do it for us, guys. Go Bills, and let's get that victory.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.